The Ballerina in the Pink Tutu by Mary Ford, Tomakin, 2537. Narrated by Chloe Schwank. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" asked the old man. The little girl replied with determination and strength in her voice, "I am going to be a ballerina." "Oh, that is wonderful," said the old man, with a smile on his face. When I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a ballerina. I never had dance lessons or music lessons, but I knew that I wanted to be a beautiful ballerina drifting around the world like a weightless fairy wearing a beautiful pink tutu. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I asked my 8-year-old grandson. "I want to be a fireman," he answered. We both smiled at each other. I asked him what he thought his Nan would like to be when she grew up. He laughed, but said, "What do you want to be when you grow up, Nan?" "Well, when I grow up, I want to be a ballerina," I answered him with determination and strength in my 65-year-old voice. He looked at me sadly with his big brown eyes and gently took my hand and said, "Oh, Nan, I am really sorry, but I think you're too old to be a ballerina." What we wanted to be when we were 8 years old isn't necessarily who we are when we turn 65. As I sit here and ponder what made me, my mind is full of scenarios that influenced my life. Growing up with an Italian immigrant father and an Australian mother in a suburban Canberra neighbourhood, I never considered myself to be different to the full Australian kids next door. That was until walking home from primary school one hot summer afternoon, and a group of boys, not much older than myself, threw rocks at me and called me a wog girl. I didn't understand what was happening, and I cried all the way home. I understand racism now, and I hope I have taught my children and my grandchildren that we are all humans that hurt, cry, bleed, and love, and that we should all try to live in love and peace. Those first experiences of hurt and powerlessness shaped who I would become. I grew up in a very large family. I had 7 sisters and 1 brother. Life was not always easy. Being the second eldest of this troop of children, I learned that we never left our seat when watching TV, because if we did, when we got back, our seat was gone. I learned to share and look after my siblings. I learned to love. I learned to fight. I learned to believe that family was at the heart of my being. Through my life, there have been many times of great happiness and many times of great sorrow and grief. Life sometimes can feel like you are surfing in the waves in the ocean. The exhilaration of riding the wave and then the hard work of getting ready to catch the next one. I'm a great believer in glass half full, except sometimes I hope that the glass is filled with wine instead of water. I can relate to the old saying, "You can't put an old head on young shoulders." Sometimes I find myself wishing I could go back in my life and do some of the things I did in my past in a different way. But then I would not be who I am now, and if I allow myself to say it out loud, I'm proud of the person I have become. I am proud I never gave up, even when I was faced with what seemed at the time like insurmountable problems and grief. I am made up by my life experiences and my relationships with the people I have met and loved over the past 65 years. I've seen the best and often the worst side of humanity. From being a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother, mother-in-law, and a grandmother, I have learned that you grow with every new experience. I have learned from my life as a teacher, a social worker, and now a retiree, that life is a blessing, and we need to embrace the good with the bad. Over my career, I have met with many people who were suffering unimaginable hardships and tragedies. These experiences formed the shape of my life. Walking with, and sometimes walking in the shoes of others, has had a profound influence and effect on who I now am and how I now see the world. To know that I've made a difference in people's lives and hopefully helped them to find peace and love is pivotal in my reflections of what made me. We need to wake up every day and put our best foot forward so we can walk in the beautiful sunshine of life. I don't always find this an easy thing to do, but I still try, each day, to live by these words. Some days I win, and some days I know I will have to try again tomorrow. If I could travel back in time and tell that little 8-year-old girl that sadly she would never become a ballerina, but boy, she would rock wearing a beautiful pink tutu at 65. The end.